Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode here on Dangerous African Confessions HD. In this episode, we have the continuation of the confession from our sister, who was talking about her auntie's husband who raped her and actually getting HIV as a result of that act by the auntie's husband. Listening to her painful story, I shed tears simply because of what someone's insatiable lust and misconduct has led her. She tells us about the kind of things she has been through and what is really happening with her right now in her life. But before we go into what we have for this episode, I would love to take this opportunity to ask you to please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and please do share our videos so that others can benefit from hearing some of these stories in order for them to also learn from some of these confessions. Thank you, and let's get into what we have for this continuation episode.
He said that he had wanted to tell me to go back home when I finished school. But he felt the chemistry and the kind of bond between myself and his mother was so strong. That is why he didn't tell me to do that. He knew a day will come that his father will start that behavior. Because for him I was a very beautiful lady, and had it not been the fact that we come from the same family, he himself would have approached me for a relationship. He told me to try and avoid him and always come to his place if my auntie is not around and I feel I was not secured. That sounded good to me. I thanked him and I left to be in my room. It happened that one afternoon I was really tired because of the house chores that I was doing. My sister had not returned that Friday, and so I had to start doing everything all by myself. I didn't even know when I slept. And when I was going into my bedroom, I knew nobody was in the house except the gateman. In my sleep, I felt there was something touching me. Only for me to wake to see my auntie's husband half naked as he tries to push the cloth I had wrapped on me. I was wearing only panty and had the cloth wrapped around me. I woke up and I asked him to stop what he wanted to do. He told me to be quiet and he will give me anything that I want. He said, since the first day I set eyes in the house he has been admiring me and didn't know how to tell me. I told him if he tries anything funny, I will shout to alert the gateman. He told me that he has sent the gateman and I can shout all he cares. Because no one was going to hear me. Before I could say anything again, this man had pounced himself on me, forcing to unwrap the cloth I had on me. Because of his strength, he manages to succeed in doing so. He started kissing me all over my body as I tried to free myself from him. All these whiles, I kept begging him to stop. But nothing that I was telling him meant anything to him at that moment. I begged him and told him that I was a virgin and had not done it before, so he should please let me go. He laughed and told me that I was lying and nothing will make him stop. He succeeded in forcing himself in having his way with me. It was a very painful experience. And I was bleeding all over. When he was done, he went out and returned to the room with some amount of money and told me to go get myself some painkillers and medication. After which he warned me if I ever tried to tell my aunt about what had happened between us, he would deal with me mercilessly. In fact, brother, I cried that whole period. My auntie returned home and called for me, but I didn't step foot out. She came into my room and tried to find what the problem is. I didn't know what to do, so I had to lie that I was not feeling well. She told me to go for check-up the next day so I can be given some medications. Sunday came and I didn't go to the church to worship. I decided that if this is a man of God and he goes about preaching to people against sinning and he can do this to me, then there was no point going into that church for him to preach those things to me. At that point in my life, I wanted to stop the university education and return back to my parents. But then, I was already in my final year. So, I decided to take heart and finish with the last years of my education and then move away from their house. I wasn't ready to cause any problem for my auntie. Per what her son had told me earlier, that telling her anything might cause her death. And I didn't want that to happen. So, I had to pretend as if nothing had happened. This I did for about 2 to 3 months and he did it again. This time too, he waited for everyone to leave the house. he returned home that fateful Saturday. After forcing and having his way with me that day, I told him that I will tell his wife what he has been doing. He laughed and said that I can go ahead and tell her. It was like he knew I couldn't tell his wife anything. So, when his son came home that evening, I went to his apartment and told him of what his father has done to me. He was furious and wanted to go and confront him right there. But I stopped him and asked him to calm down, because it was himself that told me that his mother's life is danger if she hears anything of that sort. I believe what made him angrier was the fact that I told him I was a virgin. And it was his father that has forced his way to deflower me. He told me that, the right time, he will let his father pay the biggest price that he has never dreamt of. He went inside his room and brought out his laptop. And on this laptop, he had about 3 ladies in the church confessing to him about things that his father had done to them. He had actually recorded them as proof, and he said he was waiting for the right time to do the needful. But what is really making him delay was the fact that he fears the outcome if his mother comes to the knowledge of this. So, like that, I started spending more time in his apartment than the main house. My auntie called me one day and questioned me about why I was spending more time there than the main house. I told her we always watch movies that he normally downloads on his laptop. And that was all. She said that, not that she doesn't trust me, but she was just being careful. Because of our ages, she fears we might be developing feeling, and that is why I go there. But I promised her there was nothing like that between her son and myself. About a month later, I started feeling some way, so I told my senior brother about it, and he suggested I go for a checkup and see what the problem might be. It had not even crossed my mind that I would be pregnant from what my auntie's husband had done. So, the next morning, I went to the hospital for checkup. After the checkup, I was told that I was pregnant. What? No, what are you saying, doctor? I asked him. He repeated himself and gave me the test result. He then told me that there will be the need for me to check for other things so that they can recommend the necessary diets and precaution for me. He said that they can check from the samples that they have if only I give them the go-ahead. I don't know what came over me, and I told him he can go ahead with it. I went there the next day, thinking that I would get a different result that would say otherwise. But then, what was in for me was even far more devastating than the pregnancy itself. The doctor called me into his office and told me that I had the HIV virus. I just didn't even stay in the office to hear what he had to say next. I rushed out of his office after I shouted. I went straight to my brother's shop from the hospital in tears. Seeing me that way, he rushed to me and tried to find out what the problem was. I told him to help me go home. He went for his car and drove me home. When we got home, I told him what the doctor had said to me. When he heard that news, he rushed out of his room and went straight into the main building and confronted his father. Whatever he might have said in there, I don't know. But my auntie came into his place and asked me what the problem was. I told her I wanted to leave the house. She said she won't let me go without knowing what is wrong with me. I handed her the pregnancy test first. After ready, she asked me how it happened and who is responsible for the pregnancy. Before I could say anything, her son walked in and told her everything. She got up, looked straight into her son's eyes and said, "You must be crazy to spill such lies about our father. Don't you know he is an anointed man of God? Do you want to call upon yourself the wrath of the living God?" She started asking her son these questions. Meaning she didn't believe anything her son was saying. She went out of the room, leaving me alone with her son. That evening, I didn't even step foot inside that main building. I couldn't sleep, neither did my brother. He was practically awake all night making sure I don't do anything bad to myself. The truth is that night, had it not been him, I would have ended my life. How? Everything I had dreamt of, coming to an end just like that. I couldn't bear the pain of the disappointment I have brought to my parents. They had high hopes in me. My mother always tells me that, the way I'm going, she knows that, I will come and wipe their tears away from their eyes. And here was I with those beautiful dreams being shattered just like that. The next morning, the gateman came and knocked on brother's door. He told brother that my auntie was looking for me. I went to the main building and I saw my belongings packed waiting for me. I asked what was going on and she told me that she can no longer stay with me. Because I wanted to bring disgrace to his family. I begged her, but she didn't want to listen to any of the things that I was saying. All this while, her husband was sitting there as if he knows nothing of what was going on. So, when I touched my bed, I told my auntie that I had loved her even more than my own mother. And I saw myself in her. I told her I understand her situation, but I hope when she finally finds the truth, it won't be too late. I turned to the husband and I told him that I leave him to God. If I was lying about him, God should judge me. But if what I am saying is the truth, the living God will answer in his own time. I left the main house and as I was stepping out, brother saw me and asked me to wait. He went in for his car keys and asked me to sit in his car. He took me to a hotel and booked for a week for me. He said that he wanted to start something, but he would need me so I shouldn't go anywhere. He doesn't mind even paying a whole year for me to there. Just so that he can finish what he has started. Apparently, he had called the police and lodged a complaint about the incident and they had asked him to bring me so that I can make my case officially in their books. Let me tell you why I'm still alive. At the hotel when brother left me, I went out and bought some poisonous medicine to take and end it all. When I entered the room, there was this man who was talking on the TV. I left the room without even switching the TV off. The man was talking about his life and how he has managed to live with HIV for years and he is fulfilling his dreams. And the kind of words that he was speaking touched me. So, I went and poured the medicine into the water closet. I took his number and called him that very evening. It was around 9 p.m. and he still answered the call. When I called, I was crying. He took time and encouraged me. He asked me to give him the direction to where I was. Early the next morning, before brother will even come to the hotel, the man was there. He advised me a whole lot and promised to be by my side all the way. That day we went to the police station together. The man was even shocked when he got to know that the man responsible for my problem son is actually the one helping me to get justice. My auntie's husband was arrested and put behind bars after the official complaints were made. That was when my auntie realized there may be some truth in what I was saying. When she got to know that it was actually her own son who is leading the case against his own father. He has been granted bail and the case is now in court as I still talk to you. But his son has been extremely helpful to me in a way that I never thought he will. He says he wants to see his father put in prison for what he has done. He has also rented a single-room apartment for me and has given me some money to start some business. For the pregnancy, I wasn't ready to carry the baby knowing that there was this greater possibility of giving birth to the child with such virus. So, when the court became aware of that, I had terminated the pregnancy. This is what I wanted to tell you so you can also put out there for people to also know what is going on behind closed doors. And also if you have or are HIV patient, please reach out to the appropriate group office to seek counseling and help. Thank you.
Please kindly subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload. Like I always say, these are not just stories for story's sake. They are meant for us not to make these mistakes our brothers and sisters are making. That's why we share these stories with you. I hope we've all learned something important from the story. In this story by our sister, I have also learned that not everyone parading himself to be holy out there is truly holy. Sometimes, the very people we look down upon are the very ones when God comes, he might be taken with him. To me, A lot of these pastors are using the Holy Scriptures as a will for themselves and enriching themselves without really holding on to the values in it. Again, in every house there are demons. What I mean by demons is that, in every house there are things that are hidden from the general public, which is bad. So, learn how to deal with your own issue and stop always running to pastors as if they are saints. Whatever you sow today, you shall always reap tomorrow. Let's be mindful of the choices that we make, because it can either make or unmake us in a long run. Thank you, and kindly share your thought with us in the comment section below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like and share. Thank you for listening to this episode. You can also watch other interesting and intriguing confessions we have on the channel.